Do you enjoy looking the same as everybody else, or being classified as just the same? Just as I thought, I am sure you appreciate being your own. I am sure you enjoy being called different for good reasons. Well, today's lesson, which seeks to help you produce different sentence structure types, will help you in your writing to separate yourself from others. When you improve your ability to produce a variety of sentence structures, it sets your writing apart from other students. Today's lesson is based on the topic sentence structure types. Our objective in this lesson is to write using the 4 sentence structure types. Before we begin to examine these different structures, I would like to ensure you remember the difference between the independent and the dependent clause. Understanding clauses and how they work will make it much easier for you to detangle the different sentence structure types. Let's quickly revise the independent clause. Put simply, a clause is a group of words forming part of a sentence containing a subject and a predicate. An independent clause can stand by itself as a complete sentence. It expresses a complete thought or idea and contains a subject and a verb. Do some research on this and build on your understanding. Now, for the dependent or subordinate clause. A dependent clause does not express a complete thought. To become complete, they must be attached to an independent clause. Dependent clauses are also known as subordinate clauses. Let's examine an example of each. Even though I am tired, I am going to work tonight. Because the non-underlined portion of the sentence doesn't work as a sentence on its own, it is a dependent clause. Look at it closely and read it silently. Does it work on its own? Exactly. The underlined portion of the sentence can operate as a sentence on its own. It is therefore an independent clause. Look at it closely again and read it silently. Can it operate as a sentence on its own? Yes, it can. So it is an independent clause. Now that we have gotten clauses out of the way, we are ready to take a look at each sentence structure types. The simple sentence. Simple sentences are, unsurprisingly, the easiest type of sentence structure. Often, this type of sentence is the one students overuse or write when they are given written assignments. The simple sentence follow the well-known subject, verb, object, or SVO pattern. The subject of a sentence will be the noun that begins the sentence. This may be a person, place, or thing. But most importantly, it is the doer of the action in the sentence. The action itself will be captured by the verb, which is the action word or state of being expression that informs what the doer does. The object of a sentence is the person or thing that receives the action of the verb. It is the who or what the subject does something to. Let's take a look at an example. Here's a simple sentence. Tom ate many cookies. In this easy example, the doer of the action is Tom. The action is ate. The receiver of the action is many cookies. Here is another example. Research reveals that an active lifestyle can have a great impact on the life expectancy of the average person. Despite this sentence looking more sophisticated, it is still a simple sentence, as it follows the SVO structure. The subject is research. The verb is reveals. And the object is that an active lifestyle have a great impact on the life expectancy of the average person. Here's another. The mouse darted for the safety of the nearly invisible hole under the cabinet. Despite this sentence looking somewhat longer, it is still a simple sentence, as it follows the SVO structure. Subject, the mouse. Verb, darted. Object, for the safety of the nearly invisible hole under the cabinet. Though basic in construction, it is important to point out that the simple sentence is often the perfect structure to deal with complex ideas. Simple sentences can be an effective way to provide clarity and efficiency of expression, breaking down complex ideas into manageable chunks. After you would have mastered combining subjects, verbs, and objects into both long and short sentences, you will be ready to move on to the other three types of sentences, the next of which is the compound sentence. While simple sentences consist of one clause with a subject and a verb, compound sentences combine at least two independent clauses that are joined together with a coordinating conjunction. There are 7 of these conjunctions, namely for, and, nor, but, of, yet, and so. And they can be remembered easily using the acronym FANLOIS. Whichever conjunction is used, it will connect the two halves of the compound sentence, each of which can stand alone as a complete sentence. Using compound sentences is an important way to bring variety and rhythm to a piece of writing. The decision to join two sentences together into one long compound sentence is made due to the fact that there is a strong relationship between the two. You do not have to join them. They can remain as separate. The decision to join or not is often a stylistic one. For example, here are two simple sentences. The cat was unsuccessful in his attempt to catch the mouse. The mouse was equally as unlucky in his attempt to get the cheese. These two can easily be joined together by a coordinating conjunction, which will show an important relationship between the two. For example, the cat was unsuccessful in his attempt to catch the mouse, and the mouse was equally as unlucky in his attempt to get the cheese. The use of the compound sentence is a good opportunity to explore the use of the semicolon. Do some research and check with your teachers for the correct usage of the semicolon. Now for the complex sentence. There are many ways to construct a complex sentence, but essentially, any complex sentence will contain at least one independent and one dependent clause. However, these clauses are not joined by coordinating conjunctions. Instead, they are joined by subordinating conjunctions. Here are some examples of subordinating conjunctions. There are many, so I will only mention a few. After, although, as long as, because, before, even if, in order to, in case, once, that, and many more. Subordinating conjunctions join independent and dependent clauses together. They provide a link between the two ideas in the sentence. The more important idea should be contained in the sentence's main clause, while less important idea is introduced by the subordinating conjunction. For example, although Catherine ran to school, she didn't get there in time. We can see that the first part of this complex sentence, in bold, is a dependent clause that cannot stand alone. This fragment begins with the subordinating conjunction although, which joins it to and shows the relationship with the independent clause that comes after. When Complex sentences are organized this way, with the dependent clause first. Note that a comma separates the dependent clause from the independent clause. If the structure is reorganized to place the independent clause first with the dependent clause following, then there is no need for this comma. Here is an example. You will not do well if you refuse to study. No comma needed. Complex sentences can be great tools for students to not only bring variety to their writing, but to explore complex ideas, set up comparisons and contrasts, and convey cause and effect. Finally, let's look at the compound complex sentence. The compound complex sentence is not surprisingly the most difficult for students to write well. Once you put in some work to gain an understanding of the first 3 sentence structure types, then you should master the compound complex competently with a little practice. You can do it. I know it. Here we go. A compound complex sentence combines at least 2 independent clauses and 1 dependent clause. Easy, right? Again, it combines at least 2 independent clauses and 1 dependent clause. Take a look. Since the school was closed, Sarah ran home and her mom made her some breakfast. We can see here the sentence begins with a dependent clause, followed by a compound sentence. We can also see a complex sentence nestled in there if we looked just at the bracketed content. As complex sentences goes, this is a fairly straightforward example, but they can come in lots of guises, containing lots more information, while still conforming to the compound complex structure. Soak this one up. Because most visitors to the city regularly miss out on great bargains available here, local companies endeavor to attract tourists to their businesses and to help them understand how to access the best deals the capital has to offer. There is a lot going on in this sentence, but on closer examination, it follows the same structure as the previous one. That is, it opens with a dependent clause that starts with a subordinating conjunction, and it is then followed by a compound sentence. With practice, you will be able to quickly identify these more sophisticated sentence structures and also produce your own. It is important to pay particular attention to the placement of commas in these sentences to ensure readers do not get confused. Remember the research from earlier.